Okay, we're on.
Alright, so basically, I like making a molded bowl because I suck at throwing. It's a little bit easier, but it just takes I think it takes a little bit more time, but it still takes the same amount of like bowls to do. So you have to do probably like 10 to 15 to get them where you want, and like get them to how you like them, and get like a good like theme pretty much. You want to use the bag clay because it's more elastic. It's easier to work with. Basically, you just slump it over your mold. Pick a mold you like. Slump it over. Pretty much form it to how you like. And with these corners, it's a little tough to get it completely down right. And then some tools you might want are some stamps. I use stamps. Just to get my theme going. Then probably a rib to smooth it out. It's going to take, you need to put it on the mold for the day and leave it on. Since I'm the first period class, I just leave it on for the rest of the day and come back and take it off the mold. It's nice, and once you take it off, because if you take it off too early, it will come off the mold and it will just be really flimsy and it won't hold its shape. Basically, make these ridges and get more form to it. Then also I'm going to throw on some feet. And that takes a little bit, but it comes out nice. Running out of stuff to say.
That's okay. These are some of the finished and bisque and some of the dry. So keep in mind, if everyone uses the same mold, they kind of all look the same. So you might use different stamps. I would say they'll look a little different anyway. Different people, different bowls. But this is a nice addition here. You can see these feet. These developed over time. This pattern developed over time. This stuff's a nice touch here. So the other thing about the molds, these molds can be created with any kind of, plastic is a pretty good one. All this plastic is like injection molded, so it creates an easy mold for us to make. So this is a one-part mold with no undercuts, so nothing keeps it stuck on here. So it also, this kind of creates a nice holder for it so it protects it. The plaster is a little bit brittle and we don't really want it in our clay. We really don't at all. So we don't want this to chip, but you can also make stencils. Like, it's hard to get a flat piece of clay to just wrap around something really round. This has a nice square shape to it, so you can create a stencil, kind of like a geometry problem. If I rolled this out on a table, it would make a shape. And that would help create a stencil that would then go around this piece, and I could add the bottom rather than doing it all in one shot. Also, this student's pretty used to doing these, and he's done them a while. So he's got a real nice movement and flow and process that's sort of just like throwing. You have to really do a bunch of these to get in the groove with it. And then the hardest part, he's making it look easy to do, but the hard part is coming back, taking it off at the right time, making sure it dries at the right time, especially in the winter. If it's too high and it dries fast, it just cracks. If you don't come back and get it and wrap it up, it might dry too fast. And if you don't take it, remove your clay from the mold, it will dry and crack because the clay shrinks and the plaster does not shrink. So sometimes students get into this because they think, oh, this is easier than throwing. In a lot of ways, it's harder. But if you can manage to make sure you come back and you can manage the time with it, you can do this and throw. Some students throwing just doesn't quite work for them. Now, that doesn't mean you shouldn't try it for a while, because typically most students don't think throwing works for them until they throw for a while, then it starts to click. Like now that we're using super soft clay, the centering's going a lot easier. I can see students really, stuff's getting centered and it feels right. But this is kind of a fun process. This was another example. This was a square mold. And again, a lot of these are like, now's a good time to buy this stuff because all this plastic stuff is typically like picnic wear, like Target, Walmart, so it's just coming out for spring. And this stuff is so cheap. You might have something at home you don't care about anymore. You might have a piece of Tupperware you want to try. You know, almost any Tupperware works. Everything, all this stuff is designed to allow it to release from its original mold at the factory. So it typically comes out really well. Out of the mold, off of the mold. And in theory, you could do it the other direction. This is called a positive, this mold. You could make a negative, but I like these because then you can add feed. So this is just dry clay, and there's really a lot of nice detail on there. And then we also end up with a piece that has a little bit of lift to it, a little bit of negative space, and it's got a really nice feel. It feels like it's handmade, and because it's made from the same mold, you can kind of see this progression a little bit of how the rim might look and what you might want to do with the rim. You can do a lot with this stuff. So, are you almost ready to stamp?
Yeah, I got one side ready. I just like it really smooth so it comes out great, because if you got cracks in it, then it will show through your stamp.
So you can use stamps. We have some of these wooden stamps around. You can make a stamp out of clay. You can use silicone stamps and rollers that I have too. So these silicone rollers work. And again, part of the problem is if everyone uses the same one, the stuff starts to look very same. This is made out of clay. It was a cylinder made into a tube. It allows it to dry, give it some structure, and then it was carved. So that becomes original. So you can make your own that way, and it's yours. And I would say don't share it. That way no one looks like yours. So again, we won't have it in the video how to get these off. But you have to basically, if this were clay, you've got to carefully kind of work this thing off of the mold until you can kind of grab it and take that clay off of there. You don't want to mess up the rim a lot. So we have a bunch of these around, and you may want to bring something in. I would say, don't get mad if someone else wants to try it too, but you've got to figure out how to make yours original.